Welcome to For You Radio, where the gospel's for the believer and the unbeliever alike. That's all of you. The gospel is for you, For You Radio. I'm Craig D'Onofrio, pastor of St. James Lutheran Church in the Old Brooklyn neighborhood of Cleveland, Ohio.
I am Troy New Year, pastor, St. Peter's Lutheran Church, Shaker Heights, Ohio.
Yes, indeed. We are a ministry of both churches.
Yeah.
Do come and visit us. St. James, we have worship at 5 p.m. on Saturdays and 10:15 a.m. on Sundays. When are your services, Troy?
I've told you before.
Well, refresh my memory.
You know, it's like about 9:30.
No one likes a know-it-all smarty pants.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Okay.
We're also a product, I guess you could say, of 1517.org. Go check out 1517.org. All sorts of great stuff there. Big conference coming up in October, middle of October. Here We Still Stand conference. You can come and meet and greet me in particular, but Troy probably won't be there.
There's a rumor that there might be a wedding at the same time.
Yeah, shoot. Anyway, do check that out also. Wonderful, wonderful conference coming up there with so many great speakers and just so much to offer.
Would it help if I gave you a cardboard cutout?
Yes.
Of myself that you could carry around with you?
I think that would be awesome. Just show up with a cardboard Troy.
With a little mouth that you can make move and make me say, things.
Ooh, I like that even better. Troy, if people wanted to email us or find us on the internet, where, what, when, how, what?
Or why?
Why?
Yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah.
Well, you would. Why? You'd find us on the web for all the back episodes.
Oh, there's that.
Which I have been listening to quite a bit lately.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, actually, I like do the dishes, and I just listened to a couple episodes of For You Radio. One, because I actually really enjoy hearing some of the stuff that we've talked about before, and getting refreshed in that. Two, also, I realized that you and I have been coughing and hacking in the background for approximately 2 years now.
Yes, that's true.
Yes, there's... never COVID apparently, but still some stuff. And now you're doing it right now. Good grief. So yeah. Go back and listen to and count the number of times either Craig or I cough.
I can't count that high.
Yeah. And email us then about that count at foryouradio@1517.org.
Please do.
Yeah. Oh, and you find us then at foryouradio.org.
Yes.
I didn't say that.
Very good. So we are picking up again today in Matthew as we continue on. We've recorded ahead, and I've been on vacation for the last 3 weeks and went on a cruise. And so my brain is still somewhere floating around in the Atlantic Ocean somewhere near the Grand Cayman Island.
I wondered if we were going to talk about that, kind of peeking at the man behind the curtain.
My brain is still on a boat.
Seeing how the sausage is made. See, everyone, right up to this point, everyone thinks we do this show live every Friday.
We do, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But the reality is that we do often record ahead of time so we can afford to go on vacation and not have to just skip out on all y'all.
Yeah, and take care of church stuff.
So this is the first time in 3 lonely weeks that I've seen your face.
Yes.
Yeah, it's nice to see your face again.
Well, thank you. It's good to have my face seen. So turn in your Bibles to Matthew, the 27th chapter. Where are we picking up, Troy? 27? 27, is that right?
Chapter 27, verse 27.
Okay.
On the 27th syllable of...
Well, I don't think so. Then the soldiers of the governor took Jesus into the governor's headquarters, and they gathered the whole battalion before him. And they stripped him and put a scarlet robe on him and twisted together a crown of thorns. They put it on his head and put a reed in his right hand. And kneeling before him, they mocked him, saying, "Hail, King of the Jews!" And they spit on him and took a reed and struck him on the head. And when they had mocked him, they stripped him of his robe and put his own clothes on him and led him away to crucify him. Let's just stop there for a moment. We're going to hopefully make some good time on this section. But as we were looking at this earlier, I commented, it's amazing how the Gentiles seem to get it right more than they don't, and they aren't aware of it.
Right.
Here they make Jesus out to be a king. They put a crown on him and a scepter in his hand, and they call him the King of the Jews. And he is truly the King of the Jews. He's the King of all creation.
Yeah.
And so, ironically, the Romans get it, and the Jews don't. But this is in an ironic kind of way. Anything to offer on that section, Troy?
Well, just the context of this here, of course, is having gone through that kangaroo court sort of trial. Verse 26 is interesting. Then he released for them, that's Jude, not Judas. Pilate, thank you. Pilate released for them Barabbas, and having scourged Jesus, delivered him over to be crucified. So what I'm thinking about is, in the context of that, crucifixion is not just being nailed to a cross, but there's a whole process of having been convicted.
Yes.
You're then scourged, which is whipped with, a whip with metal thorns on it, so that it tears your flesh off.
Yeah.
But this then seems to go beyond that, even, that now they're having a little sport with Jesus.
Yeah.
That perhaps might not be sanctioned, and yet still they're enjoying themselves.
And as you point out in Matthew, and we'll find that out in our very next section here, they took him away to crucify him. Then they crucified him, and it doesn't get into the gory Passion of the Christ details like you're saying, but the first century Roman citizen or subject would certainly realize that this is not just we're going to drag you out there, nail you to a stick, and prop you up. There's a lot of gruesomeness that goes on before, during, and after, right?
Yeah. Many people would actually die before they were actually crucified.
Right.
From all the lead up stuff, I guess. If you will.
And the other thing is, if you were fresh and they crucified you, you could last for 3-4 days being nailed to a cross.
Oh, quite some time. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the fact that Jesus dies in a period of 3 hours, noon to 3, indicates that he was clearly suffering a loss of blood, probably, and all sorts of other maladies that go with that.
Well, and although, I don't like to do this, but if we go outside of Matthew's gospel to John's gospel, there we see that Pilate is quite surprised that Jesus has died so soon.
Yeah, that's true.
Jesus, he was a strong man. He shouldn't have died yet. And the reason, of course, is that he's got a lot more going on him than just some physical punishment. But back to your point, though, this irony of these soldiers, they've gone off to their own little corner, so they're not visible by the people. Right. Yeah. We're not gonna embarrass the Jews in front of the Jews, because then we might have a revolt. But we can certainly mock this guy mercilessly right now.
Yeah, that's a good point. If they called him King of the Jews in front of the Jews would start tearing their clothes and pouring ashes on their heads and flipping out, right?
Yeah. Oh, besides that, if they saw him, even calling him their king, and they would dare treat their king, quote unquote, like that, what might they do to him?
Right.
So, absolutely, just brutally ironic. And not in any sort of funny sense of the word at all. Yeah.
So shall we press on?
Please do.
32. And as they went out, they found a man of Cyrene, Simon by name. They compelled this man to carry his cross. And when they came to a place called Golgotha, which means place of the skull, they offered him wine to drink mixed with gall. But when he tasted it, he would not drink it. And when they had crucified him, they divided his garments among them by casting lots. Then they sat down and kept watch over him there. And over his head they put the charge against him, which read, "This is Jesus, King of the Jews." Then 2 robbers were crucified with him, one on the right and one on the left. And those who passed by derided him, wagging their heads, remember this, wagging their heads, and saying, "You who would destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days, save yourself. If you are the Son of God, come down from the cross. So also the chief priests with the scribes and elders mocked him, saying, "He saved others, he cannot save himself. He is the King of Israel. Let him come down from the cross, and we will believe in him. He trusts in God. Let God deliver him now if he desires him. For he said, 'I am the Son of God.'" And the robbers who were crucified with him also reviled him in the same way. Boy, I can't read. We'll get to this whole. I was saying to pay attention to this part. We'll get to this in just a few seconds. But what is happening here is foretold of in the Old Testament in a huge way.
Yeah, absolutely.
and in more than one place.
Yeah.
So this comes into play in a big way, since these are Jews who are standing there mocking him. They're seeing the playing out of the Old Testament scriptures, which they should be very well acquainted with, and they can't. They're blind to it. They just can't see it happening in front of them.
And Matthew's gospel is written towards a Jewish believers sort of crowd, right? He's addressing a predominantly Jewish audience. So, yeah, I think he's deliberately bringing out all these details that they would know from the Old Testament to say, look, here is the Christ who was spoken of.
Yes.
And so, why did Jesus have to die? Because it was spoken of, right? This whole thing that came from the Old Testament. But with that, there's a couple little minor things which I think are somewhat interesting to just point out. One, this guy that they find to carry the cross, Simon of Cyrene.
Yes.
Why is his name worthy of being mentioned here?
Well, there are some things that pop up later on in the Bible that indicate that he and or relatives are believers at that point.
Yeah. I think we looked at this like Mark chapter 14, maybe 15, where Simon of Cyrene, and then Mark notes, he's the father of Alexander and Rufus.
Right, we all know them.
Right, yes, yeah. Yeah. In the same way that, if you or I said, if we spoke of Donald or Joseph, we would immediately know,
right.
Who am I talking about?
Well, not that they were presidents or anything.
But yeah, one of those
Rufus,
guys. Yeah, but Alexander and Rufus, they were well known to the crowd that Mark was written. So presumably they were well-known believers.
Right.
And the reason I think Matthew makes mention of him is because apparently this has such an impact on him that he carries this cross, that he sees this crucifixion, that he does come to believe in Jesus.
I think that a better analogy would be Groucho and Harpo. This is just one name, and you know exactly who I'm talking about, right?
Okay, good point.
Marx Brothers. These are brothers. So
sure.
There. I like my analogy better.
Yeah. Okay.
Never mind. See, that's what you get for doing a radio program with me. Anyway,
so
as you were saying,
beyond that, one other minor point, and I know that you nor I are really entirely sure what to do with this, but they offer him wine to drink that is mixed with gall,
right?
And he tastes it, and he does not drink it,
right?
Now, you had an interesting point, and I think I had an interesting point. So my point was that he tastes the gall, which is sort of a numbing medication, right, that is intended to dull his senses. And I think he does not take that because he knows that his time of suffering is here. And he must indeed suffer and not try to escape that.
Yeah, and I don't think that our 2 points stand in opposition to each other at all.
Not necessarily.
I think that they actually complement each other, because I think that you're probably right on this. And in that, Jesus takes the full-blown accusation, the full-blown consequences of our sin and the law. And so, nothing will be muted for Jesus here. He's going to get it and get it hard, right? I mean, it's just boom. This is not going to go easy on him in any way, shape, or form. But I also was pointing out that when he instituted the Lord's Supper, toward the end, as they were getting ready to head out to the garden, he said, "I will not taste of this fruit of the vine again until I come in my kingdom." And, once again, he turns it down here. And I think that that's looking forward to the resurrection, as he establishes his kingdom as the resurrected Christ, as he puts the proof of the pudding in the crucifixion in the resurrection. And so, I think that it's a both and, that Jesus will not let the effects of this be muted. He won't take the easy way out that Satan is always offering him, but he will take it all full blown, the effects of the consequences of all of our sin. And he made this statement that he won't drink of the vine again until his kingdom comes.
Now, one other, I think, very small point, maybe not very small, but a brief point that we should touch on. Of course, we all know about the two different thieves that are crucified on his right and his left.
Mm-hmm.
And how one's the good guy and one's the bad guy.
Right.
Right?
Well,
we all know that.
The bad guy and the good bad guy.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, except Matthew doesn't seem to know those guys.
Right. He's just crucified between two guys.
Who both revile him.
Right.
Right. So they're both, as far as Matthew's account alone, goes, both of the thieves are reviling him, just heaping abuse upon him.
Right.
Now, I think there's also a little bit of indication there is that, as we've seen, nobody quite knows what's happening yet.
Right.
There's a supreme, amazing reality that, as you said, the Roman soldiers touch on as they call him King of the Jews. As the people, as Christ is being crucified, and people are saying, this is Jesus, the King of the Jews. There's a inscription right above his head.
Right. In 3 languages, no less.
In 3 languages.
You take that in the sense also that it's being proclaimed to the whole world.
Yes, yeah.
In the 3 known, or most popular languages, right? So this proclamation is more irony that here he is, the King of the Jews.
Yeah, and so nobody understands that he actually truly is. Nobody understands his divine mission just yet.
Right.
Not even the 2 who are being crucified with him.
Right.
And I think that is Matthew's point there.
Now.
Oh, by the way.
Shall we? Yes.
I just have to say, too, verse 42, he saved others, he cannot save himself. He's the King of Israel. Let him come down now from the cross and we will believe in him. No. No, you won't.
Oh, it's a good point.
One, no, you won't. And 2, a Christ who comes down from the cross is not a Christ who deserves to be king.
Well, that's God's prerogative to say that or not, but I tend to agree with you on that.
I'm just agreeing with God.
You make a very strong point in this also, that they've seen him raise the dead. They've seen him heal people who have been cripples and blinds and blind for their whole life, and on and on and on. And they refuse to believe. If he came off the cross, you're right, they still wouldn't believe,
right?
No matter what. So,
and of course, with the cross being the very focal point of his grace and mercy, would you want a God that came down off of it?
Well, once again, he will have taken the easy way out, and that's Satan's way.
Yeah.
So, this is what Satan is offering him in the temptation of the wilderness at the beginning of his ministry.
The God who would come off that cross is a God who's coming to deal justice on you.
Right.
So things would have turned out very badly for them and for us as well had Christ come down.
And as we look at this, and he takes, as I was saying, the full-blown effects of sin and death and the law and everything else by not accepting the gall. If he were to take any other way out, that would not be the case. And also, this also shows us the extremes that God goes to redeem you, no matter how awful your sins are in your mind, things that you might think are unforgivable. Jesus died the most extreme way to pay for that one too.
Yeah.
And in the most painful and awful of ways. When he could have taken the sedative, he didn't. Mm-hmm. And so all of the pain that all of the pain that you have, all of the shame and everything else, he's taking care of that. You can let it go now. Yeah. You just drop it. It's a hot potato. Let it go.
Well, and as we'll see later, the Apostle Paul makes that same sort of argument that, hey, I was the guy who was persecuting Christ. I was the guy who was persecuting his church.
Yeah.
And now he's made me his apostle.
Crazy, huh?
I don't deserve to be here. And also, I bet you there are some people there who are standing there mocking him that later on in, let's say, Acts chapter 2 or so, that they come to believe.
Well, let's keep reading and we'll find out a little bit more. Shall we? Why don't you read for a while since I'm stammering and stuttering?
Verse 45, correct?
Yes.
And now from the 6th hour there was darkness all over the land until the 9th hour. And about the 9th hour Jesus cried out with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani. That is, my God, why why have you forsaken me? And some of the bystanders hearing it said, this man is calling Elijah. And one of them ran and took, see, now I'm doing it. You've infected me with your stammeriness. Verse 48. And one of them at once ran and took a sponge, filled it with sour wine, and put it on a reed, and gave it to him to drink. But the other said, wait, let us see whether Elijah will come to save him. And Jesus cried out with a loud voice and yielded up his spirit. And behold, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom, and the earth shook, and the rocks were split. The tombs also were opened, and many bodies of the saints who had fallen asleep were raised, and coming out of the tombs after his resurrection, they went into the holy city and appeared to many. When the centurion and those who were with him, keeping watch over Jesus, saw the earthquake and what took place, they were filled with awe and said, truly, this was the Son of God.
Very good. As we were saying, there are so many parallels here. And when Jesus says those words, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, I'm sorry, that's another gospel. Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, I think it is here.
It's Aramaic, right?
Yeah. There's a spelling difference in one of the other gospels, but still, it's the same thing. They say, oh, he's calling on Elijah. But the thing is, if you look at Psalm 22, exactly what was prophesied there is happening to Jesus right in front of them. And let me read to you a little bit from Psalm 22. My God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from saving me from the words of my groaning? Oh, my God, I cry by day, but you do not answer, and by night, but I find no rest. Yet you are holy, enthroned on the praises of Israel. In you our fathers trusted. They trusted, and you delivered them. To you they cried and were rescued. In you they trusted and were not put to shame. But I am a worm and not a man, scorned by mankind and despised by the people. This is where it starts to speak very clearly to what's going on here. All who see me mock me. They make mouths at me. They wag their heads. Sounds a little familiar. He trusts in the Lord. Let him deliver him. Let him rescue him, for he delights in him. Yeah, it's becoming more and more clear. Yet you are he who took me from the womb. You made me trust you at my mother's breast. On you was I cast from my birth, and from my mother's womb you have been my God. Be not far from me, for trouble is near, and there is none to help. Many bulls encompass me. Strong bulls of Bashan surround me. They open their mouths at me like ravening and roaring lions. I am poured out like water. All my bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax. It is melted in my breast. My strength is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue sticks to my jaws. You lay me in the dust of death, for dogs encompass me. The company of evildoers encircles me. They have pierced my hands and feet. I can count all my bones. They stare and gloat over me. They divide my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots. But you, O Lord, do not be far off. And it continues on from there. But it's like, hello, this is like going into a Lutheran church and saying, a mighty fortress is our God. And everybody should be like, oh, I know that song.
I know that song. Right.
Yeah, I know how that goes. Jesus kind of starts the hymn here, which is what a psalm is. And yet in their unbelief, in their thick-headedness and refusal to believe, it bounces right off them.
Well, I think that's part of my contention, too, with Matthew, is that he's recorded all those details. And then these specific words that echo Psalm 22, so that we can see that Jesus is the crucified Christ, the one who was spoken of long ago. And then furthermore, that we understand that he is the crucified Christ, and there is no other Christ worth worshiping. And that I think is emphasized finally when the one guy who really does get it and announces praise unto Jesus, that's the centurion who sees Jesus on the cross.
Once again, the Gentile gets it.
Yeah.
And Jesus comes first to the Jew, then to the Gentile.
Yeah.
And yet in their stubborn rejection, he's blessed.
Yeah.
Amazingly blessed.
And finally, without any sense of irony whatsoever, but just simple awe, truly this was the Son of God.
Yeah.
So Matthew has brought us to that point to say, this crucified Christ is the Son of God given for you.
Yes.
And And again, there's no other God worth worshiping because no other God has that amount of love and forgiveness for us.
We have just about a minute left, but I think also it's worth noting here, verses 55 and 56, there were also many women there looking on from a distance who had followed Jesus from Galilee, ministering to him, among whom were Mary Magdalene, Mary, the mother of James and Joseph, and the mother of the sons of Zebedee. It's interesting that the women are mentioned once again, and as they will be in the resurrection, women were second-class citizens. It required many more women to be true, to testify to be true, than two men. So once again, Jesus lifts up the lowly, those who are less credible, those who are less dignified in the sight of many, he picks up and he honors. And this is portrayed here. We're pretty much out of time, unfortunately. We look forward to being with you again. But until next time, go check out 1517.org. So many great resources for you and your church. You will be blessed. And check out the 1517 Here We Still Stand conference.
Sign up for that conference and see my cardboard cutout.
Yes. Until next time, God's peace. For You Radio is a 1517.org production. To listen to this radio broadcast and broadcasts like this one, I invite you to visit 1517.org. There you will also find many publications and free resources, including classes on Christian apologetics, church history, philosophy, and so much more. We are completely funded by generous donors like you. Would you consider making a generous gift to our work of spreading the gospel? Simply visit 1517.org.